Welcome to Cinema Chop Shop. Watch, chop, retrofit.
Oh, okay, so we went to the hockey game last night, go Ice Cats, and a funny thing happened. So we were sitting not immediately behind, but kind of directly line of sight behind the opposing team. And I noticed that the younger girl and her father, who were sitting next to us, she was taking a picture. She zoomed in to take a picture of the opposing team. And then I noticed that she was sending that picture to somebody. And I know I shouldn't read over people's shoulder while they're texting. It's an invasion of privacy. But I was curious. And so I didn't see who she was sending it to, but I could see what she was typing. She says, "This is our," and then she's about to type opponent, but she starts with A. And she types APP, and it keeps autocorrecting to apparent, appointment. And eventually she gives up and just types rivals.
But this isn't a spell check podcast.
Indeed.
It's
or
a
optometry podcast.
Yeah.
Wow, that's impressive.
Well, no, Travis was leaning over watching her. It was pretty obvious, and I'm surprised she was
I was
polite.
in her lap.
I'm surprised she did not tell him to please stop, sir. This is Cinema Chop Shop. It's a movie podcast where we gather and talk about movies and things. And I'm your host, Shawn. I'm joined, as you heard, by Travisito.
I'm here as well.
Joey Poole.
Hello.
And Todd.
Howdy.
So the gang is all here for part 2 of our folk horror episodes. This is going to be new school folk horror. These are films that come after the year 2000 that fall into our folk horror category. If you don't know what folk horror is, go listen to the last episode. We kind of talk about it quite a bit. But what we're really kind of wondering this episode is, what was it about the mid-2010s that made folk horror kind of take a huge foothold and really come on strong.
Things started to get folked up again.
Yes. So I was curious what you guys think might be some of the causes or reasons, other than just being good movies in general. Why did they resonate so suddenly?
I feel like, and I don't know if the timing is exactly right on this, but I do know that one thing that I find that kind of attracts me to folk horror now and makes it kind of resonate with me now is that every time you walk out of your door, it feels kind of like you're in a folk horror film, because there's so many different people, and I mean, obviously I'm talking about MAGA shit here or whatever, but not just them, everybody is into their own little cult of information. So it's there's all these little insular societies that are fueled by the internet and whatnot, and then you have to interact with these people who have completely different worldviews than you every single day. And that's kind of what folk horror is at its heart to me, is that the horror comes from people stumbling into these cultures or these subcultures where they don't they don't belong, and it's weird.
Yeah, there was the world was becoming much more homogenized, and it does seem like that maybe because of the internet and the cultures of social media that people have started to repopulate themselves into these little groups that you're always sort of surprised what people believe or don't believe, even if they live next door to you, even if they're neighbors. So it's not necessarily location based, but
I'm wondering if some of it could be reactionary, because for so long the horror genre was just saturated with slashers and jump scare movies.
I was going to say the same thing. The early 2000s, you had the Japanese horror remakes in America that were full of jump scares.
Found footage was big. And some of that crosses over, too, with folk horror. But I think that what we're leaning into today and talking about was an intentional move away from that more mainstream horror. Yeah. Back to the roots kind of folk horror. And big examples that stand out, like Hereditary, I think we talked about before.
Well, and that one I think is an important one for the commercialization of the
and
genre.
Ari Aster kind of hit the ground running with that, and Midsommar.
There are actually some smaller ones that resonate with me in the folk horror, like Antlers. And,
Not to be confused with Horns.
No.
With Daniel Radcliffe.
The Witch, of course.
The Witch, yeah, which we intentionally skipped because we just talked about it a few episodes ago. That's a good one in terms of looking back at the past, looking back at the old ways and the old traditions. And that was something else, is that, Travis, you touched on it, is that, we've kind of had this, and also you guys were saying, like, fragmented cultures were all connected to the internet, and it's like this loss of connection to the physical earth, and tradition and lore. And I think that might be an attraction.
Yeah, there's some overlap, I think, with the folk horror and eco horror with some of these. I think we mentioned most of the blockbusters for folk horror, but there's that ecosystem of independent movies that come out like on Shudder and stuff like that, where there's a ton of those types of movies.
And some of them are
coming
decent.
out. Yeah.
I watched Lake Mungo recently in
Yeah, that's
preparation.
Australian, right?
That's an Australian movie that kind of gets into that weird, unexplained otherness aspect of folk horror.
Yep.
Some other newer movies that I was just kind of wondering if they would qualify as folk horror. The big recent one, Weapons.
Oh.
Do you
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I
or
think
is it
so.
too suburban?
Well, the lead character, the lead antagonist,
Is literally a witch.
She is literally of folk horror. And
Yes.
so I think that you're right. It kind of dabbles in some of those.
What about?
I think you could even maybe Get Out, because it turns out that there's this sort of ancient order at the center of the plot of that.
Yeah.
What about Sinners? It's definitely of a certain time and culture.
Well, that kind of goes back to what we were saying last week, was that technically you could say that vampire movies and werewolf movies could qualify as folk horror. And I think in that regard, Sinners definitely.
And one more example, very recent. Has anybody seen Bone Lake? Bone Lake. The tagline is "You better have a safe word." No, it's a sex horror.
You've told me about it, and I haven't seen
The
it.
title is a double entendre.
Oh.
You told me the spoiler for that.
Yeah.
Now I
yeah,
want to watch
forgot
it.
about that. Yeah, I don't want to watch it either. So yeah, folk horror, new folk horror.
Yeah, there's so much good stuff, and it's like I said, they're rolling out really good ones. So that's exciting as a movie fan to see folk horror succeed in a good way and in a big way with movies that are actually worth watching. In picking our feature segment, we said that we could easily go with kind of like a Midsommar or a Hereditary type movie, because it is one of those two are the big heavy hitters, that kind of herald the movement. But I picked The Ritual from 2017. This was a movie that I believe it came out on Netflix.
I think you might be right. Yeah, and I think that's where it.
That's
still
how I
lives.
watched it.
Yeah, and it was one of those movies that stuck with me, and I had forgotten a lot of the finer plot points over the years, but at the core of it, I remember it being just this spooky, out in the woods kind of film, and so I put that on the board. And Todd, this was your first time seeing it,
Yeah,
correct?
I'd never
Okay.
seen it, no.
I had kind of forgotten how good it was.
Yeah,
Like
me
this
too.
is a really solid horror.
It
movie.
actually does give you the heebie-jeebies.
It's on a very, very short list of the rare new horror movies that I see for the first time as an adult that literally actually scare me a
Yep.
little bit. You know what I mean? Like, and that's like, I'm jaded now, and that doesn't happen very often. This is one of them. Yeah.
All right, so The Ritual, 2017, directed by David Bruckner.
Who also did The Night House and a really good movie that's kind of overlooked. I did play it at Scary Movie Night one year, called The Signal, which is about like a frequency that makes people go crazy. And the tagline is, "Do you have the crazy?" Fair warning to people who watch it. For some reason, that movie starts out with a short vignette that's very gory, like Cannibal Holocaust style gory, that has really nothing to do with the rest of the movie. And I mean that like in plain terms. It has no connection. So if you want to just skip over that part, or at the very least disregard it, the rest of the movie's great.
Okay.
The Night House was an interesting movie.
It was okay.
Pretty creepy.
Yeah.
Rebecca Hall, I think, was
This movie stars some guys that there's one that I do know, but most of the cast I don't know very well. Sam Troughton, Rafe Spall, Rob James Collier, which you'll remember from not Bridgerton. What's the other one?
Downton Abbey.
Downton Abbey. He was the asshole butler.
Okay. Is he the one who looks like AB?
Yeah.
Yeah, he really does
Yeah.
look like a friend of ours.
And Arshur Ali. They're the four guys. And then I did not mention the friend who passes away at the beginning of the film.
It's a major part of the plot.
So reuniting after the tragic death of their friend, four college pals set out to hike through the Scandinavian wilderness.
because it's what that now deceased friend wanted to do. The rest of them were like, no, let's
go to the beach,
right,
or whatever. They're trying to figure out what they wanted to do, and he suggested hiking. So a wrong turn leads them into the mysterious forests of Norse legend, where an ancient evil exists and stalks them at every turn. Very much hitting all of the folk horror notes. You have a cult, you have an ancient god, you have the modern person out of their element in the old world. It definitely does it. But as
this is textbook folk horror, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
and even some just regular old horror tropes, because you have the protagonist who has some trauma that he's trying to work out, and then there's always an annoying fucking member of the group who's like gets on everybody's last
a bit of a
nerve.
know-it-all, and of course he had the twisted ankle and was the problem,
and bitching and moaning the whole time. And,
there's a cabin in the woods that
Yes.
they find that's
Yes.
scary as shit. There's those runes that they keep seeing along the trail,
kind of Blair Witchy.
Anytime you, and this happens, this is not just a folk horror thing too, but like Todd was saying, this is a trope. Like anytime you come upon, like in a movie, the remnants of what looks like was some sort of ritual, and there's like a doll made of straw or whatever, like that, for whatever reason, just
or like those
sends a chill down
devil
my
traps
spine,
in True Detective.
Yes. All right, so we alluded to the tragedy. They are all hanging out, talking about what they want to do for their vacation or get together or whatever.
They stop by a liquor store.
Two of them go inside the liquor store, which is being held up, which they did not know when they went in. The one friend who survives is around the end of the end cap of the aisle. The other
and
guy
he doesn't do anything to help.
He freezes up. And
Yes.
truth be told, I was knowing what happened. I was like, he really couldn't have done anything.
He probably would be dead too
Yeah.
had he done anything.
Yeah,
but the fact remains, he did nothing.
He did nothing.
And
And
it bothers him, and it's kind of an unspoken thing amongst the others as well.
Correct. So the friend dies at the hands of the assailants because they want his phone, his wallet, and his wedding ring, and he does not want to part with his wedding ring. And that costs him his life in a very brutal way. So we flash forward to them on the hike.
6 months later.
And so we've passed the funeral and all of that kind of thing. And they're camping, just having a nice camp. Mm-hmm. No big blip, nothing crazy, until things start getting crazy.
I love when this gets to the heart of folk horror too. There's a line in there, and I'm going to paraphrase this because I had it on in the background earlier this week, but I saw it when it came out, like Shawn did. I didn't watch it very closely this time, but there's a line in there where when it starts getting creepy, he says something like, "This is where the real shit happens." This, because Great Britain's a car park. And so they're like, from this culture, this like, very urban and suburbanized, and here they are. They're in the fucking wilderness.
Yes.
And like, was it Norway, right? Or is it Sweden?
They are in the Nugselden in northern Sweden.
Yeah, so they are, they're not at home anymore.
Correct. Definitely out of their element.
Yeah.
It's a pretty long hike too, didn't they say they were like, it was 10 miles, something like that, 11 miles it seems like they
through
had to go?
some pretty hilly terrain. And so they have their route plotted, and then Piggy, he's
his ankle.
He's basically Piggy from Lord of the Flies. I mean, he's just the squeaky wheel, and and so he twists his ankle, and so they have to plot a new, more direct trajectory to get to where they want to go, which leads them through the forest.
Yeah. He's also reminiscent of Franklin from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre a little bit.
Ah, okay.
That type of character is, frequently pops up in horror films. But anyway,
So while they're in the woods, there's a torrential rainstorm that forces them into that abandoned cabin.
Yes.
And
I would have stayed in the fucking rain if it was me. It's
very creepy, and
there's a wicker man
there's
of
a
sorts.
effigy
We're getting wet
in
tonight,
the
y'all.
in the attic that has antlers for hands.
Yeah.
And one of the four guys in the middle of the night wakes up and he's like praying to the thing, and he's like in rapture and practically having a seizure. Mm-hmm. One of them's missing after that too, right?
not immediately after, but shortly thereafter.
Yeah, the first one to go is the one that's most adept at surviving in the outdoors. Yeah, Hutch.
Okay.
He.
That's interesting. They get rid of him first.
They find him impaled in a tree.
Yes.
Right?
which we find becomes kind of the MO for the ancient god, kind of like skewering folks up high.
Yeah.
So we talked about how this movie is legitimately scary. Like, in the lead up, the lead up to it is, like I said, one of the scariest things I've seen, in recent memory. But I do think that for me, and this happens in a lot of horror movies, when you finally have the payoff, when you finally do see the creature, it dissipates a little bit. It's no longer as scary.
Because you've seen it.
But the creature design is really cool.
Yeah.
It's such a mind-bending creature design on top of how well it's executed.
And we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. It ends up with 2 of them left, right? And they get captured by these pagans,
cultists, pagans
in the
I
woods,
guess is a good one.
who worship this ancient god and sacrifice people to him. And they say that the ancient god is a bastard child of Loki, and it's definitely part like animal. It kind of unfolds in these.
It's like if you took
part
like a
person, part deer, part
tree sort of like entity.
So wild.
Yeah. And it's not, to me, at that point, I'm like, okay, it's scarier to me when I think, oh my God, there's some crazy motherfucking people that live in these woods. That's
it did lose a
terrifying,
little
'cause that could
energy.
happen.
I kind of wish they would have remained a little more subtle about who the people were. Because they become when they become more prominent, it lost a little bit of energy for me in terms of the creepiness.
They needed that to explain what
right.
the fuck was going on.
Right.
Yeah, but the cool thing about that is that they don't dwell on it too much, and they don't last too terribly long either.
Yeah.
Because
And they don't use subtitles when they're speaking. So unless you know the language, you don't know what they're saying.
And
just like
until they speak English to the captives.
Yeah, and our main character ends up inside the cabin and discovers the congregation of zombies or ancient decrepit dying.
They were almost like mummies.
Almost, mummified, but
they think we're still alive.
there was
alive.
some shrunken head that scared that one. That was in my nightmares.
The ancient god gives them eternal.
Motor is the name of the god.
He gives them eternal life for their worship, which, if you play like Dungeons and Dragons, those types of games, they have these gods that only exist because there are people to worship them. So you kind of think that these worshipers are critical to this god's livelihood. So he must have them. So why not grant them eternal life?
Because he's like a low budget god. He's got to have some. He's a bastard child. He's
got
to have somebody.
He's in a remote area too, so there are only so many worshipers that he could probably amass anyway.
Right. Yeah.
There's several points in the movie where the main character, the friend who didn't step in during the attack, has flashbacks or hallucinations of that attack and the aftermath of it. And you're wondering, are the hallucinations a result of what's happening to them, or are they the things that they perceive as happening to them the result of this trauma that he's kind of internalized? But I think that they insinuate that the ancient god Motor is causing these hallucinations, getting in his head and making him see the thing that he fears and hates the most.
Yeah, I agree. That's kind of what his deal is.
Yeah.
Is to fuck with your brain. So he kind of, spoilers from this point forward, he torches the place. He torches everybody in it. He shoots somebody. And
the last of their quartets, wasn't it the piggy guy who's the other one there in the camp with him? Before he dies, he says he wants him to burn the place to the ground, right?
Yeah.
Well, and he kind of figures out too, and of course they have to bring it full circle with the trauma he had at the beginning, where he feels like he let his friend die. Is that he realizes that the way to stand up to the monster is to not submit to it. If you don't submit to it, it loses some of its power, and that's what lets him get away. And then, of course, you have that closing shot where he's just screaming right back at the
He's right outside
creature.
the forest screaming. That was a cool scene, though, where the god forced him to kneel before him by pressing his head into the ground. That was pretty gnarly. But yes, getting out of the forest, where that's the edge of the god's power, and just doing that
And
primal
a
scream.
visual contrast too. As soon as he gets out, you can almost like a force field he goes through.
And one of the things I love about the closing shots is that as they say about folk horror is that it's just a few feet off the beaten path. You know, the things that these terrible things, these strange ways and strange gods, it's just off our beaten path. And it's literally what happens in this movie, because they pan the camera and you can see a car in the distance of this ancient god exists.
Yeah.
So close to civilization, and that was kind of creepy. A creepy way to end it, for sure.
Such a cool movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, on any intelligent discussion of certainly the most underrated horror movies of the 21st century, but I would, no one really talks about this movie. I mean, I feel like most people that I've talked to like it, but it's a Netflix original. It's, it didn't really accrue a whole lot of cachet or whatever, but like, it's good.
Yes.
And I would probably put it in a top 10 of the 21st century for me. Honestly,
I really enjoy it, and I think that it's underrated in terms of its Rotten Tomatoes. Do you have that score?
Yeah, it's got a 74, which is criminal.
That's criminal.
I would bump it up to an 80 at least. I liked it. I think it plays. I enjoyed rewatching it.
Yes.
And it definitely ticks all of the boxes for folk horror. That's why I picked it. I'm glad that you guys enjoyed it. I'm glad Todd got to see it for the first time as a result of this.
Got fun facts.
Please.
We have two for this one. First, the film was shot in a place that's kind of associated with horror on its own. It wasn't shot in Sweden. It was shot in the Carpathian Mountains of Romania.
Vampire country.
Yeah. And then also, the original tagline that was used when advertising the film was, "They should have gone to Vegas." But due to the massacre in Vegas that took place on October 1st, 2017, the tagline was changed to, "They should have gone to Ibiza."
Ibiza.
Yes.
Wow, that's interesting. All right, well then we're going to take a break and we'll come back with our individual picks, but not before we say,
let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby and get ourselves some
entrails.
Jesus Christ, Todd.
Candy entrails.
Get some candy.
Gummy entrails.
Yum, yum. It's time for a tasty and refreshing snack. We promise to satisfy your hunger, your thirst, your sweet tooth. So visit our refreshment center now. Let's go.
And we're back. Some of us peed in the yard, others did not. Joey, what do we like to do when we come back from intermission?
Well, Shawn, we like to drink beer and we like to talk about drinking beer.
And you have an on-theme beer today?
I do. It is, I don't know the name of this brewery because it's dark in here and I'm half blind. And also it's written in like a death metal font. I don't know. Or it looks like Elven script. I'm reading the Lord of the Rings.
Liability.
Right, Liability. Where's that from?
Don't know.
This is the Feral Garden Gnome. Belgium style ale, and that's obviously on theme because I could see a movie about feral garden gnomes falling into the
that would actually be pretty creepy.
But there's a little poem in here.
They're out of Greenville, South Carolina.
Gotcha.
An obscene amount of cred. Watch where you tread. Sharpest hoe in the shed. Peep these metals, this bread. Boots on my feet, hidden and discreet. Cheeks like a beet.
I think this is less of a poem and more of rap lyrics, Joey.
Funny hat on my head, your garden, my home. And I apologize for the shitty reading of that poem, but I can barely see in this light. So, but here, this is the Feral Garden Gnome Belgian style ale.
Feral Garden Gnome. Well, that's kind of good for folk horror.
Mm-hmm. I think, if memory serves, and I can't remember the title of it, but if memory serves, there is a horror movie featuring garden gnomes as
I'm sure
a villain.
Yeah,
I don't think I've seen it, but I think I've scrolled by it on Shudder or something and said, we should watch that.
It's called Romeo and Juliet.
All right, so we're going to go dive back into folk horror. We're going to cover our individual picks. Joey, you're up with yours.
Yeah, I chose a movie called A Field in England.
Yes.
Directed by Ben Wheatley, who's, it's weird, when we talked about this last week, Travis said, Ben Wheatley. And I looked at it and I was like, yeah, I know that name. It's like a name that I recognize. But then I looked at the list of the movies that he's done, and I don't think I've seen any of them except this movie.
He did Free Fire. He also did High Rise, which was kind of a bomb.
I have not seen that.
But he also did a funny movie called Sightseers, which is kind of a horror comedy, and then a really, really good but overlooked movie called Kill List. Kill List is Ben Wheatley, and it's great.
The only one that I had seen of his was Meg, as in Megalosaurus.
The Megalodon,
Oh,
yes.
yeah, Megalodon, yeah. Two.
Yeah.
And it could not be a more different movie. Than the one
All
that
of his
I'm gonna
movies
talk
are
about
pretty
today.
different, though.
Really?
Yeah.
A Field in England, set in the English Civil War. You have a character who is on a mission. He's very into, I guess he would be the on the monarchy side in the Civil War, and he's very into the social order. This becomes important later. But he gets kind of like waylaid on his trip for his master. He keeps calling it his master. He's like a hired man for some landed gentry. And he's going to retrieve an alchemist who worked under his master, who studied alchemy, who's stolen, absconded with a book of alchemical secrets. And he gets waylaid in this quest by, well, the English Civil War. Battle breaks out, and he kind of gets thrown in with a handful of deserters from both sides of the English Civil War. And they walk through a field in England.
When they called it a field in England, they ain't fucking around.
Yeah, it is
that's literally just a description of the scenery.
Yeah. And
But it also offers a certain concealment, right? It's very tall grass. They can kind of hide there.
Right.
And like I think Shawn made this point. The director Wheatley here, he gets so much out of like typically I don't care for the digital look. You know what I mean? Just aesthetically, I like film. I like film, and not the digital look. But he gets this crisp, like pristine black and white digital thing, and he does the barest, most sparsest of settings you can possibly imagine. A field in England,
And the entire feature is in black and white.
yeah, and he just gets so much moody, like.
Well, the other thing about the field is that it's encircled by mushrooms, which play a huge role
Yeah.
in this movie.
Yeah, they stumble across a fairy circle of mushrooms, and everybody except the one character who's sort of the protagonist of the film gobble them down, eat greedily. They haven't eaten in months, and they start. Are they tripping balls, or does shit just get weird? We don't really know.
I think a
And
little
then
bit of both.
There is my wife. I watched this movie with my wife, and there's a spot where you first realize like, oh, it's like really fucking surreal. Like, don't expect logical linear sense. But there's I was gonna open this to the floor. There's a scene, y'all have seen the movie.
I have.
Yeah.
There's a scene where they come across this like, it looks like a giant log or wooden screw or something like.
Oh, the
in the
knock
ground.
in the ground, yeah.
And they start, trying to get it out, and when they pull it out, and seemingly they pull out the alchemist that our main character has been looking for. What?
Yeah.
What is that about? Someone explain that to me.
I think it's supposed to be just like dreamlike, non sequitur, like how you can be at your old job in your dream, but it's in a completely different city, and things don't have to make sense.
Yeah, and
like,
that is the clarion call of this movie, that hey, this is a surrealist.
Well, it kind
workout.
of plays into the folk tale aspect of a folk horror, in that, can you imagine the legend about, and the alchemist was plucked from the ground because he had cast a spell or he had done this or that. It's kind of like that, where you're like, okay, it's taking something from like an old text and literally putting it on
like
film.
the Virgin Spring.
I guess so.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, isn't there just? I wanted to watch this one again. I didn't. Wasn't there at least the suggestion of possibly that they're dead?
That comes at the end of the film.
Yeah.
Okay.
When it essentially restarts the movie.
There seems to there's one character who gets killed several times.
Yes.
And just with no explanation, he's just back. And so
Right,
again, it's
yeah,
just this surreal kind
Yeah,
of
there was this. Yeah, so I think
dreamlike
that's
thing.
yeah.
I don't want to give too much of the plot away. plot is kind of an afterthought here,
Right.
honestly, but I don't want to give too much of it away, but let's just suffice to say that the alchemist who gets plucked out of the ground turns out to be the one who our main character has been looking for this entire time, and he proceeds to, through some mix of just being smarter than them, and maybe he has some kind of like supernatural mind control type powers, he basically tortures them and
Turns the tables.
yeah, and he uses them to help him, as he uses our main character as this human divining rod in a truly disturbing scene, to find what this treasure that he's looking for. I don't want to talk about what happens when they dig it up or whatever, because you should watch the movie. But this is a movie. It's not a perfect movie. It's kind of a head scratcher, but it's one of those that like I liked a lot more in retrospect than I did maybe
On
while I was
rewatch?
watching it. Because
I describe it as grimy. The movie's grimy.
ew, it's scuzzy
Yeah.
and skeezy, and this is
And
the
you're
kind
trying to
of
figure
movie-
out what the hell's going on.
Yeah, it's off. Yeah, it keeps you on your guard. And then there is a cut scene where we cut from a field in England to a close up of like a syphilis riddled dick.
Yeah, we
basically.
actually. Oh god, yeah. I had forgotten about that. Thanks for reminding me.
And there's
know how I forgot.
another thing about it is there's a lot of like there's humor in this movie too, and it's like this dark, bleak.
That fits in though with the
scuzzy,
body,
grimy-
old like medieval British sensibility. If you've ever read any of the Chaucer's
Like a Chaucer,
tales,
I was gonna say, like-
there's humor galore in those, and
Yeah.
and like gross kind of humor too.
Well, the thing that I thought was interesting about this movie, in relation to this episode, is this: my wife and I, we watched together, and we had this argument about. No, it was a debate. It wasn't an argument. We weren't throwing stuff. not about this anyway. Is it a folk horror, or is it just a period piece? Because just because it's set in the past doesn't make it necessarily.
I think the
a folk
alchemist.
horror.
I think the alchemist element could create that. Plus that the hovering of death over the situation, the mushrooms, because that has a folk element to it. I think it.
And I think the circular way that the
Right.
movie
Yeah.
ends plays it. It's funny that it's set during the British Civil War because it's the same time period as the Witchfinder General, which I last time said isn't really horrific in the true horror movie kind of sense, and neither is this. But it has a lot of the folk elements of strangeness, mysteriousness, unexplainable like you said, it's a head scratcher. There's all kinds of strange. Like, what did he do to him in that tent to turn him into the human divining rod? He was wailing and howling and crying the whole time. I'm like, is he giving him a little rummage or what? So yeah, I think it's got enough elements for me at least to call it folk horror.
Interesting film, like I said, probably not the best film.
It's not a
of the
crowd
four that
pleaser.
we'll talk about. Not for everyone, definitely, but it's an interesting movie, and it's like I said, it's one that kind of like got a little better in the afterglow for me, rather than while I was watching it. So.
Gotcha.
Fun facts.
Yeah.
Regarding palmistry, when Whitehead is staring at the palms of his hands, the heart and head lines are filled with enough grime and dirt to stand out clearly, but his lifeline is clean and indistinct.
Ooh.
Also,
Somebody went out of their way to do that too, because that's an Easter egg that like not very many people are going to catch.
and then no women appear on screen during the entire film.
And there's another thing. I was shocked that this was written by a woman.
Yeah.
And when the credits roll, I remember thinking that, whoa, I would not have guessed that there was, I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but yeah, written by a woman. That was interesting.
Todd, you're up next with Eczema.
Yes, and
The sequel to Rosacea.
No, that's the body horror episode.
yeah, yes, it's a torrid tale of teenagers.
To be clear, it is Exuma.
Yes, correct. From 2024, so very recent, out of South Korea, which probably pound for pound is putting out some of the best cinema in the world these days. Directed by, and please forgive in advance the parade of pronunciations to follow, but here's the first one.
You mean parade?
Directed by yes. Jane
Pronunciation.
J. Huynh, I guess is how you pronounce that. who previously directed two features that neither of which I've seen, but I would like to now. The Priests from 2015 and The Sixth Finger from 2019. Really has two parts to the film, and it kind of begins with some Scooby-Doo energy. You have this ragtag team of mystics, essentially, that come together, or some of them are. The film begins with Hwa Rim, who is a female shaman who is working for a Korean-American wealthy family who have, there has been a male infant born into the family who has a mysterious illness that they think may have some sort of mystical qualities about it, and so that's why they've enlisted the shaman and her protege, Bong-gil, to try to figure out what's going on there. She comes to the realization that this is what she refers to as a graves call, which means that an ancestor is upset about something and is getting revenge on the family. And so she...
What a dick move from your ancestors,
I know.
By the way.
I know. She enlists the help, and here's where the ragtag team gets together. The help of who actually becomes the protagonist, essentially, Sang Diok, who is a feng shui master and geomancer. Now, geomancer, if you look up the definition of this, you'll get a variety of definitions, but in this case, it kind of refers to, apparently in South Korea, prime burial land is hard to come by, and so he helps wealthy families find good burial land.
Huh.
Like the feng shui of death.
Essentially, yes. So, and then the other person is an undertaker / mortician, Young Gwyn, who they enlist his help as well for the burial procedure that has to take place for these rites that Hwa Rim wants to put together. So this is the first part of the movie. So the first part of the film centers around this figuring out what's going on with this graves call. They have a ritual that the female shaman puts together where she's slaughtering pigs and doing all kinds of things. In the meantime, the feng shui master has sort of figured out where the grave is located with the grandfather, has digging into it, found it. The mortician is on hand to do his part of disposing of the remains. While all this is happening, there is a gravedigger who sees a snake and impales it. And just as he's impaling it, the snake's head turns around and it has a human head. This is important for the second half of the movie. But when the body is supposed to be disposed of the grandfather, one of the morticians that works at the funeral home opens up the coffin and lets the grandfather's spirit out, and so now he's kind of on a rampage and starts killing off some of the family members with the ultimate goal of killing the baby. Grandpa takes over one of the doctors, is about to kill the baby, but the undertaker figures out, okay, we got to cremate the coffin and we get rid of the spirit, and it works. So that ends the first half of the movie. A few months later go by, and now this gravedigger who beheaded the snake with the human head is terrified about what's happening. He cries and he has tears of blood stream down his face. They find out this story about the grandfather was involved with this character named Gisun, who also called the Fox, who was kind of this monk-type character. So this is where the folk horror element starts to come in beyond the shaman stuff. We find out that the grandfather from the first half of the movie lived during colonial times, and he helped Imperial Japan. He was like a trader, essentially, of Korea, helping Imperial Japan in their designs of ruling over Korea. So it gets kind of convoluted, but essentially what has happened is this monk, through the help of the grandfather, has used the gravesite of the grandfather to put these spiritual spikes in place that is designed to help them control, because it's near the border with North Korea, I believe. It's designed to help them control the Korean area. This monk has impaled a samurai who has turned into this creature called an Oni, which is a demon spirit. There's actually
like
a Japanese horror film called an
Oni
Baba. Yeah. And so I'm trying to make this as brief as possible, gentlemen. I'm sorry, it was pretty convoluted, but
It's a long, involved movie.
yes, it's very complex. This Oni is protecting the spikes to keep these Korean patriots who we see at a certain part of the movie who are trying to exhume the spikes to release the curse on Korea, essentially. So the feng shui master figures out how to kill this creature through using a wood and water. And I'm giving away spoilers here, but in any case, he finally kind of disposes of this creature. Conclusion of the movie, it has kind of one of those Scooby-Doo endings where we see where everyone's doing now. Everyone lived, of the four main characters. The feng shui master's daughter is getting married, etc. So he lives for that. Very complex plot. Like I said, the two halves of the movie are kind of distinct but lead into one another. But the folk elements, though, are really interesting because you have, first off, the obvious elements of the shamans and their role and the rituals that they use. But then you also have this tie into colonial era Japan and Korea and the conflict that existed between them. And if you read some of the articles about this from people that are more knowledgeable about the area, there's a strong critique in the film towards Japan and about their treatment of Japan over the years, even going outside of the colonial area. And so this exhumation of the grave is sort of symbolic of exhuming the sins of the past, so to speak. Right. So in any case, it is complex. I did watch it a second time. You can get kind of lost with some of the plot machinations, but it's a really cool movie, though. There is some humor in there. It does have some chills in there. I wouldn't say it's super frightening, but there are, when you see the snake with the human head on it, it's kind of startling and pretty creepy. The creature at the end, the Oni, is pretty well done.
This is, to me, one of, along with The Ritual that we talked about, I'd probably put this on a list of my favorites of the 21st century horror movies. What year did it come out?
Just last year.
Just last year. And yeah,
Yep.
So it seems like a long time ago that I saw it, but I guess I saw it around the time it came out. But this one to me was great for all the reasons that you just mentioned. And then also it was just cool to get, I knew like kind of in an offhand way that there was that history of like colonization between Japan and Korea, but I'd never really thought about it that much, and then the way that they mine it here for horror is pretty interesting.
Yeah,
the whole sins of the past kind of thing is a big, well done theme in this movie.
Right.
I watched this one as part of the Cinema Chop Shop movie challenge.
Okay.
On Letterboxd. Yeah.
Okay.
Fun fact?
Yeah, and I'm sorry I didn't catch it if you mentioned this. Is there a part where they cast evil spirits into pigs?
Yes.
Okay, so the idea of casting evil spirits into pigs has a long history and has been present in many cultures. As just one example, in the book of Matthew in the Bible, Jesus casts demons out of two possessed men and into a herd of pigs who then jump into the sea. Which isn't really a fun fact about your movie, but...
Yeah. No, but... And kind of, come on, Jesus, what the pigs do? Like, those poor pigs.
They're unclean.
Yeah.
As a good little recovering Baptist, that reference did not fall on deaf ears here.
No, yeah. I was
Gotcha.
That, yeah.
Travis, you're up, man.
All right, so I kind of fucked up a little bit. I picked a movie because it was under 90 minutes long.
This movie was indeed fucked up.
And that movie is Possum from 2018. And this is one of those movies where it's hard to actually say that you liked it because it's so fucked up and dark and bleak. But at the same time, it is technically well made.
Well,
It's a good movie. I mean, it's a well-crafted movie.
Before you get too far into it, both of these guys, within the past 48 hours, have been like, oh, yeah, you need to watch this movie. But I'm always wary to watch a movie when everybody that I know who tells me, oh, yeah, you should watch such and such is so fucked up.
Yeah.
Like, if that's the only thing that you can say about the movie is that how fucked up it is,
It is
I don't
very
know if
fucked
I
up,
want
though.
to subject myself to that or not. I'll be honest with
And
you.
I probably shouldn't have, but I did. So Possum
This is as dark as it gets.
is directed by Matthew Holness, and it's got a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. And the main character is named Philip, and he's a former children's puppeteer who is disgraced from his profession for some mysterious reason. He returns to his dilapidated childhood home in Norfolk. The house, scarred by an old fire, is now occupied by his frail and unsettling and sadistic Uncle Maurice. Morris, excuse me.
It's spelled Maurice, but they pronounce it Morris. Yeah.
Forced back into this dark environment, Philip finds himself slipping into old fears and memories he thought he'd left behind. Philip is relentlessly tormented by his grotesque marionette Possum, a spider-like puppet he created long ago. Now, it is a large spider-like creature, but it has a humanoid face that bears a passing resemblance to the main character.
Yes.
No matter how many times he tries to discard or destroy it, Possum keeps finding its way back to him. He rediscovers a disturbing picture book he made in his youth detailing the puppet's monstrous origins and hunger for vulnerable children. Philip's nightmares grow increasingly vivid, blurring the boundary between memory and hallucination. It does have a very hallucinatory feel, this movie does. I got strong Lynch vibes from it as well.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Morris's constant manipulations reopen emotional wounds. Their conversations hint at painful secrets tied to Philip's past and the family's history with puppetry. When a young boy Philip met on the train disappears, suspicion quickly shifts toward him. Local residents and school staff treat him as a threat, heightening his isolation. Maurice's cryptic comments about past assaults feed Philip's anxiety and push him closer to unraveling. Eventually, Philip confronts a locked and fire-damaged room that he has avoided since his return. There, the truth emerges as Morris reveals himself to be the masked figure who terrorized and abused Philip during childhood. A violent struggle ensues and ends in Morris's death, and Philip discovers the missing boy, Michael, imprisoned, locked in a chest in the room. As dawn breaks, Philip sits outside in a daze, cradling Possum's severed head, a chilling image of trauma confronted but far from cured. So that was the movie I decided to watch. Fun times,
Good times.
You guys.
Feel good movie.
Yeah. There is a lot of very successful use of imagery in this movie. The spider puppet Possum is clearly like a metaphor for his bottled up past trauma and abuse. The smoke, the black smoke emanating from underneath the like bouquet of balloons in the locked room, very kind of ethereal and ominous. The actor who plays Morris was very unsettling. I'm not sure who he was. I didn't really recognize either of these actors. They're basically the main two people in the movie, other than some collateral damage.
Well, I think his performance, and I actually read an article where the director talked about how silent movies were a big influence on the film.
I could say that.
And
there's very little dialogue.
Yeah, and the protagonist, his performance is very much
deadpan.
Visual. He doesn't have a lot of dialogue.
And that actually goes to my fun fact. The actor, Shawn Harris, who plays Philip, does not smile once through the film. In fact, he wears a frown throughout more than 95% of the movie.
You will scarcely find a film with as little humor. Literally none. I don't think there was one. Like almost every movie has at least
you didn't think it was funny?
Yeah. One moment of levity, you know. And
So,
this one has nothing. It's just all.
The other night when I was, I think I texted y'all about. Oh, I texted Travis. I thought you were in on this, but I guess I just sent it to the thread that had these two in it. But I had texted him out of the blue about the Tubi sound drop thing. Do you watch Tubi?
Sometimes.
He goes, Tubi.
I was sure you were drunk.
I was a little bit high.
Okay.
So what about the Tubi sound
Anyway,
drop?
I was like, man, that's that's some top notch sound design. That's a banger. And then so somehow the conversation turned to movies that I should watch, and Shawn, I think, started, but Todd seconded it. Yeah, you need to watch Possum.
Yeah.
It's so fucked up. And right as we were texting that, like, we were scrolling through the streaming services, and my wife was like, let's watch something Halloweeny that's like, just kind of spooky, but kind of fun. And I almost
spooky,
put
but not
Possum
fun.
on.
No, Shasta would not have been happy with you. I don't think. It's not a husband and wife movie. I don't think.
Oh Lord! So the lead actor played the character Solomon Lane in the Mission Impossible movies.
Oh,
In
okay.
2 of them.
They did. I mean, the makeup people did everything they could to make this guy look disgusting. I mean, his teeth were yellow. I have to assume a lot of that was done in makeup.
No, he was just British.
Yeah, right.
It's a fucked up movie, man. It's crazy. And I mentioned to you last night, we were talking about it briefly. I said that, I read some people saying that Morris was killed a long time ago.
I was going
Yeah.
to say that. I wondered what you guys thought. My assumption was that
that
he was the
ghost.
one trying to fight off the urge to do what had been done to him.
To
and
that boy,
Morris was
Michael.
dead.
Which is why he sets him free.
Because we only see Morris in that one room,
Right.
pretty much
And
the
you
whole
see him
movie.
outside
He's
by the
outside.
Oh,
burn
you're
pit.
right. You're right.
But even then,
Is-
there's like a throwaway line that kind of indicates that Morris left us a long time ago.
Yeah.
So it's
At one point, he
that was
says
my
he's
read
going
on
to be spending some time away. Also.
yeah, it's got some little nuggets in there. But boy, is that a weird movie.
Yep.
Yeah.
Never trust a guy who buttons the top button on a button-up shirt without a tie. Just a serial killer waiting to happen.
Yeah.
Sorry, Joey, if that's you.
No.
And he runs with his arms at his side.
Oh,
which
yeah.
is also another,
Like Naruto.
That's
I
a
like
red
to show
flag,
a lot
man.
of chest hair as much as I can with the button situation.
Let him see that taco meat.
All right. My film is another Korean movie. It's from 2016. It's directed by, and apologies for butchering all these names, by Na Hong Jin. It's The Wailing, and it stars Kim Hwan Hee. She plays the daughter. Kwak Do Won plays the father.
I'm sure it's not pronounced quack.
Kwak. Hwang Jun Min plays the shaman, and Jun Kunamura plays the Japanese guy in this film. In the remote Korean village of Goksong, it falls into a panic after a mysterious Japanese man arrives and a bizarre infection causes villagers to violently murder their families. Police officer Jong-gu is thrust into the nightmare when his own daughter, Hyo-jin, becomes possessed. A young woman named Mu Myung claims the Japanese man is an evil spirit, while the shaman, Il-gwang, is later hired to perform a death hex ritual. Jong-gu investigates the stranger, finding a shrine with photos of the murdered victims, confirming his suspicions. After he stops the shaman's ritual, Jong-gu eventually kills the Japanese man, but Hong Jin's health only temporarily improves. Il-gwang returns in terror, warning Jong-gu that Mu Myung is the true demon. Torn between Mu Myung's warning to wait and the shaman's frantic call, Jong-gu returns home before dawn, only to find Hyo-jin has slaughtered his wife and mother-in-law, and she then attacks him as well.
For being worried about the pronunciation.
That's words.
They list their names a lot.
That's word salad. That word salad is not indicative of how good this movie is, and it has a lot of tonal shifts in it. You mentioned some of the levity in Exuma. This one has it as well. Something about Korean films, they like to have the kind of like a bumbling police officer character, and that's essentially the main character in this movie. And the first half of this movie kind of plays out like a police procedural. They're investigating these strange goings-on, and they focus heavily on the police side of things until it becomes supernatural, and then there's this giant shift. And you've got the Japanese guy that's the scapegoat, where they're like, this guy came to town, and now everybody's killing each other. And your first inclination is, well, that's obviously a red herring. No, not really. Not at all. When they bring the shaman in, that is one of the most harrowing shamanic possession rituals ever committed to film. It's the intensity and the suspense is so heightened. Like, I was on the edge of my seat waiting to see what happens. it's really something to behold, and it definitely takes you on this roller coaster ride when they start investigating the Japanese guy, and you think that they're kind of in the clear, and then they throw a little rope-a-dope on you, and no, you're not in the clear. Then neither is the Japanese guy out of the picture. He's very much in the picture. It's well worth watching. You've seen it, Todd.
Yeah, I wanted to rewatch it for the film because it was one where I watched it, but I was distracted. So I remember some of what you were talking about. But
You're scrolling through Tinder while you watch the movie.
of course,
Grinder.
Yes.
Ooh.
The young daughter who becomes possessed is outstanding as a child actor playing a complete character shift, because she's just this innocent girl through most of the movie, and then once she's possessed, it's not so much like The Exorcist, where Reagan is so just like demon possessed. She just becomes mean. Like she just becomes like it's almost like you have this kind daughter, and then the next day she's the sassy teenager. It's kind of like that. She starts swearing at the family.
It really
Flips
does
the
happen
bitch switch.
overnight,
Yeah,
by
she
the
gets
way.
the bitch switch. Yeah, totally. But in terms of folk horror, the shaman, that just oozes authenticity, and this is where you, as an outsider watching a Korean film, you kind of feel like you're insufficient in terms of your knowledge, because you know that there's got to be tons and tons of lore tied up in this, and you wonder how much of it is interpretive, how much of it's made up, how much of it's rooted in real ritual. So as an outsider, you're just kind of taking it all in and just enjoying it for the visual spectacle that it is. But I really wonder how much of that is tied up in tradition and that kind of thing. It's because it certainly felt real. It kind of felt well thought out, and it very much felt authentic. So I really recommend this movie. It's really cool. I know there's some people who have issues with the tonal shifts. And again, going back to the Korean films, they tend to enjoy that. You mentioned the Scooby-Doo feel. There are times in this movie which has very serious themes, feels kind of like a Scooby-Doo kind of thing at the beginning, until it gets really serious.
Yeah. Memories of Murder, not a horror film, but Bong Joon-ho movie that's a great movie. It's kind of like that, where they're the bumbling cops, corrupt as well. And then all of a sudden it's just deadly serious after all this kind of bumbling comedy at the beginning. But yeah, that is, though, something common in their films. It seems
Yeah, I recommend checking this one out. It is about 2 hours and 30 minutes, if I remember correctly. Could probably be trimmed down a bit and still get the point across. But spoilers, the Japanese guy essentially reveals himself to be a demon, and boy, is it really well done. It's like not the main character, but the preacher goes and like follows the Japanese guy at the end of the film into his lair, I guess you would call it, and he's confronting him, telling him he need to get the hell out of town. And the guy really, it's almost like the way Satan is portrayed in the Bible. It's like he's having this conversation with him, and it's very matter of fact, and it feels kind of mundane. But he's very cavalier about it. The Japanese guy, and then all of a sudden, it's like the camera does this 1-2 where it's on the Japanese guy, and then it's on the priest. And it's on the priest, and he says something, and then the next thing, it cuts back to the Japanese guy, and he's in full demon makeup. And it's just like that, and it looks so cool, and it's so well done. And that's when you start to realize that there's a lot of finger pointing that happens in the movie. Is it the shaman? Is it the the Korean ghost lady? Or is it this Japanese guy? Who's really the evil one in this movie? And I kind of have to leave that out there, so watch it, see for yourself, because it's a fun movie.
Yeah. And we see both of the films today, and other South Korean movies I've seen, Koreans got some beef with the Japanese, it seems like.
Yeah. Again, outsider looking in,
Yeah.
boy, they really pick on this Japanese guy. They make him out to be like a real shit.
Yeah. So
All right.
that's an interesting element of those movies.
Fun fact, Travis?
One fun fact. No higher animals were harmed during the filming of this movie. The worm in the beginning is, per definition, not a higher animal.
Oh, my God.
That's it.
Well, thank you for your
Did they-
research.
Did they kill a worm?
I don't really remember that one.
Okay.
There was some chicken handling during the.
Well, it said that they handled
ritual.
that very professional. They had trainers, and it was done under observation, and that the film had a staff for visual effects.
Okay. There you have it. All right, so
And they
that's
sent the chickens to Hawaii for a nice vacation.
They cast the chickens into pigs, and the pigs jumped in the ocean.
all right. So that's our new school folk horror. It's been a good one.
Good stuff.
I've enjoyed the 2 episodes. It's a fun subgenre to jump into. All right, we're gonna take a 3-week hiatus, but we'll be back with Noirvember. We're gonna do foreign language noir movies.
Nice.
Hopefully everyone can join us and be back for that. Please rate, review, subscribe. Check us out on social media. We're Cinema Chop Shop everywhere, but YouTube and Blue Sky. We're Cinema Chop Shop podcast there. Tell your friends about us. Please be kind to each other. Love each other. Tell people you love them. Love you guys. And join us next time. And please remember to
Watch, chop, retrofit.